Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Underqualified and Overopinionated. Some of you may be asking, who am I? Why am I doing this podcast? But some of you may not care at all, and that's totally fine. I'm going to tell you all about myself anyway, so let's jump right into it. I am Leighton Cook. I was Leighton Landreth just a couple months ago. I was born in Austin, Texas. I'm actually the sixth generation of my family born in Austin. And fun fact, pretty much none of my family lives in Austin anymore. It's just gotten too big and too crazy, and yeah, another combo for another day. But my parents, Paul and Reagan Landreth, are the most wonderful people. My mom is actually from San Antonio. She lived in a few different places, but she's from San Antonio, Texas, and my dad is from a tiny town called DeKalb, Texas, up in northeast Texas. It's like 15 minutes from Oklahoma. But they met while they were in College Station. My mom was working at a bar, restaurant, pool hall, called Yesterdays. And my dad would go in there and play pool. And they met there. My dad was not in school there. My mom did go to A&M. My dad went to the School of Hard Knocks. But I have learned a lot from both of them, and they are the most awesome people. I have two siblings, Berkeley and Crosby. Berkeley just turned 21 this month, and Crosby is 12. They are the most amazing people, and I have enjoyed every second of my life with them. Growing up with them has been just an absolute blessing. They are, they're very fun and crazy people. Berkeley is super into musical theater. She's been into it her entire life, and even got me into it for a little bit when I was young, but that's also another story for another day. And Crosby is kind of a mixture of me and Berkeley. He's super musical, but he's also a little bit athletic. So he's just been so fun to watch grow up, and I'm super proud of who he is. But he plays a bunch of different instruments. He's been working on the steel guitar, but he can play a little bit of guitar. He's really great at piano. He's been playing the saxophone in the school band, but he also plays sports, so football, basketball, baseball, you name it. And yeah, like I said in the last episode, Berkeley is just an awesome singer. She's a great dancer and a great actress, and musical theater is totally her thing, and she's going to go super far with it. Anyway, I grew up going to church at First United Methodist, Georgetown, and that is kind of where I just found out who I am and fell in love with God, and I really enjoyed the youth group. That is what I was a part of and where I really flourished. So I went on a bunch of mission trips through FUMC Georgetown, and honestly, there was one mission trip in Arkansas where I had a breakthrough. My walls came down, and I really fell in love with Jesus. Oh my gosh, it was just the most wonderful mission trip, and I would love to talk more about kind of my story and my testimony and my faith in a different episode. But yeah, that mission trip was amazing. I went with two of my very best friends, Bryden and Olivia, and I was probably 15. I think I was 15 at the time. And we went to a little town called Marvell, Arkansas, and we did some awesome mission work. We met a lot of really great people, and then in our last night, we washed each other's feet and prayed over each other, and that was just the most amazing experience. It was super awesome. But anyway, I was super involved at the youth group at First United Methodist. Once I got old enough, I ended up being like a youth leader, and I helped lead some mission trips and help out. I always really loved kind of mentoring the younger youth and the preteens. We always did a bunch of really fun stuff during the summer, and I just made some really great friendships, and had the best time there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and like growing up and church and such. And me and my siblings were always involved in Vacation Bible School and all that. I also grew up playing sports. I tried a few that I didn't like when I was really, really little. And my parents actually made me play softball when I was 9. They told me that if I didn't like it, I didn't like it, and I never had to do it again. But I ended up loving it. I really didn't want to do it, but thank goodness I did. I ended up loving it. I stuck with it. As most of you know, I played my entire life, from the time I was 9 up until now. So after my first season of like rec league, rec ball, whatever you want to call it, I ended up joining a travel ball team that my rec coach had put together. So I was 10 years old when I got on my first travel ball team, which is a little bit silly and crazy. But I was on the Sticks, and we were out of Austin, and we were awesome. And I loved the colors of Sticks. It was like navy blue and teal, and anyway, and I always wore like a bow, and it was so fun. But I fell in love with softball. I played on tons of travel teams and things after that. But yeah, so for skipping ahead a little bit, for middle school, I went to Meridian World School in Round Rock, Texas. I went there from 3rd grade up until 8th grade. It was a K through 12 school, and I could have stayed there longer, but our family we didn't love that school. I loved some aspects of it, but some were not wonderful. They also didn't have softball, and I wanted to play high school softball, so that was a no-brainer to just go ahead and switch schools. But some of their values just didn't align with ours, and we ended up leaving. But at Meridian, I played volleyball and basketball. I was okay at them, not great. But my sister and I transferred to Georgetown School District after that. So Berkeley went to the middle school there. Well, one of them, there's quite a few, but she went to Forbes for a year when she was in 8th grade, and I went on into Georgetown High School in 9th grade. We're only a school year difference. But I had a couple of friends from growing up that went there, so it wasn't like a totally new world to me, but it also was a new world because I had not been to a public school before. Meridian was a charter school, which is not a private school, but it's not public. Anyway, you can look it up if you want to look it up. But public schools life was very different from Meridian. But I ended up having a decent time at Georgetown High School. I played softball, of course. I played half the year on JV my freshman year and then got bumped to varsity. But yeah, played softball. I also played golf my freshman year, and honestly, I was like decent at golf. I was not good at golf, but I was decent at it, and if I worked, I could have done really well. And I've had some family members and people tell me that I really should have stuck with it and kept playing, but I did not. I loved softball. I could just hit the ball really, really far in golf. Like, I won the longest drive competition in one of the golf tournaments, but that's the only thing I ever even got close to winning. So, yeah. I also did powerlifting at Georgetown, and I got pretty good at that, but it also was really hard on my body, so whatever. Anyway, high school wasn't the best time for me. People say high school was the best 4 years of their life, but it wasn't the best 4 years of mine, but that's okay. Moving on. COVID happened while I was a junior in high school, and that was super weird. I still remember when it got like posted all over the news and social media and whatever. We were in class that day. It was like the day before spring break or something. And everyone kept saying, like, we might not come back to school this year. And I was like, what are you? Yeah, we're not going to come back to school this year because of a flu-like, cold-like sickness? Whatever. I didn't believe anyone. And then we didn't go back to school, so that was wild. And since we didn't go back to school, I didn't know what to do with my life. All I did was play softball and go to school. And I mean, I did work. I've worked since I was 15 years old. But anyway, that kind of wasn't a thing either during COVID. So like, what was I to do? No softball, no school, no work, whatever. But my family actually had a couple construction companies, and I ended up working for them during COVID because we didn't stop, and that's a good thing. But a little bit of backstory. My parents opened their first company in 2009. So I was 7, and they opened Landreth Construction, which was a like flat work foundation company. They did concrete. They started out doing like driveways and things like that. Then they moved to residential work and other things. But they started that in 2009, and from a really young age, I was just really interested in the business. I wanted to be a part of the family business, and that was my dream from that point on. So when COVID happened, I finally got to kind of become a part of the family business, and it was a really cool experience. I did not work for Landreth Construction. I actually worked for Bigfoot Concrete Pumping, which my parents started in 2019. They started that company to fulfill the needs of Landreth Construction. So if you don't know what a concrete pump truck is, it's basically, it's not a mixer truck. So those mixers are the ones that spin around. A pump truck is, you may or may not have seen one, but it folds out. It has a giant boom on it. And basically the mixer truck pours the concrete into the pump truck, and the pump truck expands its boom and can pump the concrete in hard to reach places, is basically what it is. And when my parents started that company, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I studied on a business pathway throughout high school, and I knew that I just wanted to be a part of Bigfoot and help it grow. So during COVID, like I said, I got to work for Bigfoot, and it was awesome. I got to go to the World of Concrete convention in Las Vegas, which was super fun and super eye-opening and a great learning experience. I also got to go to Wisconsin with my dad and purchase some pump trucks. That was also super cool. But I just learned a lot, and it was super exciting. So during this same time of me working in the family business and everything, I clearly wasn't playing softball, like I said, and it was my junior year, which is when everyone is getting recruited to play college ball. So I was a little hesitant about college softball because there was some weird stuff going on in the world in general with COVID, but especially like in college sports. Everyone got like a 5th year of playing. So all the D1s, D2s, they were pretty much stacked for a whole nother year. Actually several years. But anywho, I kind of gave up on the like D1 dream when I was like a junior in high school. I really did want to play D1, but that just wasn't in the cards for me, and that is totally okay. I ended up playing JUCO and absolutely loved it. But I was super hesitant about even going and playing college ball because of all the weirdness. And honestly, I was just like, I could just become a part of the family business right now and go to work and not even worry about college. But my parents really encouraged me to go to college, and my dad said, you're going. And so I went. But basically, I decided JUCO was going to be the best option for me. So I started looking at some junior colleges in Texas. I really wanted to stay in Texas. I am a big family person and didn't want to be far away from my family. So one of my top choices was Angelina College, and I had gone on quite a few visits. I went on some visits to some D2s and some different things and got a couple different offers, but I really wanted to go to Angelina College. And I was super excited about my visit, but the day before my visit, the coach FaceTimed me, and he was like, hey, and this is my, I don't know what year this was, but like I wasn't going, I guess it was my junior year. No, it wasn't. Anyway, the coach FaceTimed me and was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that Angelina has already suspended sports for the next whole season. Like, we are not playing next season. And that year was like the 2021 season, so like my senior year of high school. So it didn't apply to me, like I wouldn't have been in college. But he called me and told me they were not playing the next year, and that the college was talking about like indefinitely getting rid of sports, which is wild. So he said he didn't want me to come on a visit and commit to play there and them not even have a softball team. So that was really like sad and disheartening, but I ended up going on some more visits, and I met these coaches that I really loved at Vernon College, which is in like North Texas. And I ended up committing and signing to play for Vernon College 2 weeks before school started. The head coach called me and told me she was not going to be coaching at Vernon. And that was a little bit sad, but the assistant coach, one of the assistant coaches, was the one who recruited me. And I really liked him, and I really liked the other assistant as well, and was super glad that they were still there. So I was still going to go to Vernon. Well, I got 2 more calls within the next couple days that both of those coaches were also going to different schools. So all 3 of the coaches all went to different schools, and none of them were going to coach at Vernon anymore. So Vernon had no softball coach, and this was 2 weeks before I was supposed to head up there. I didn't know what to do, so I prayed a lot about it, and some stuff ended up happening, and I got released from my signing, and I went on that visit to Angelina College. So it kind of worked out, and God works in like the craziest ways, but I went on a visit to Angelina as soon as I got released from my signing. The next day I committed, the next day I signed, and then I was on my way up there like a week later to go to school. And I was like the last person who, well, I was, for one, the last person who joined the team like 2 weeks before school started, not maybe 1 week before school started. So that was crazy, but I was very blessed that it all worked out. And one cool thing about me being the last person to join the team is I got a dorm room to myself. So that was fun, but it was really scary. I didn't know anyone on the team. I had already been talking to the girls at Vernon, but I hadn't talked to anyone at Angelina. I didn't know anyone. And the first day I arrived, everyone else was already there. They were already ready to go. They had all met each other. They had done this, whatever. I was the last one there, and the day I arrived, I moved in, and then I went straight to softball practice. It was craziness, but it all worked out. I remember being in the biggest slump of my life, though, when I got to college. I was so nervous. I was all over the place. But I really came out of that slump and ended up having probably one of the best seasons of my career, hitting-wise, for sure. I ended up hitting 17 home runs my freshman year of college, and I really loved my teammates. I loved the team. The JUCO vibe is really crazy, though. I was really not focused on school. I've always been a really good student, but when I got there, I was so not focused on school. I still had good grades, but that wasn't why I was there. I was there to play softball. And, our team was really good. We were 3rd in the nation for home runs for junior colleges. So we had like 130-something home runs on the season. It was wild. I have never seen a team hit that many home runs. We were a crazy hitting team, and we also had girls from all over the world on our team, which was awesome. So we had girls from Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and then a bunch from, of course, the United States, all different places. So it was really fun to just get to know everyone, and I still have some great friends from that school. But while I was there, I mostly did online classes. I only had like 2 in-person classes because it was still that weird COVID transition. And so since I was really just there playing softball and doing online school, I had 2 jobs. I worked as a waitress at Ralph and Keiku's, and that's like a Cajun place. It was just across the street from the school. That was fun. And then I also worked at like a nutrition tea shop, one of those Herbalife nutrition shakes and energy drink places. So I would work there most mornings and then work at the restaurant in the evenings. So yeah, a bunch of fun stuff. After my first year at Angelina, the coach ended up leaving. You're gonna see a common theme here of coaches leaving throughout my college career. But the coach ended up leaving, and I really liked him. And the assistant coach became the head coach. So I was like, okay, I know her. Like, this is cool. I'm going to be okay. And so I came back to school the following year, and I just felt off. Like, I felt like I wasn't in the right place, and I felt like God was calling me to something else. and I just didn't really know what to do. So I ended up telling my coach that I wanted to transfer, and I ended up looking for some other places. But while I was at Angelina, my freshman year, I ended up meeting Mark, and thank God that all of this stuff, I mean, just a million things had to line up for me to even be able to meet Mark, who is now my husband. But I met him while I was at Angelina. He is originally from East Texas, so he is from a little tiny town called New London. It has a population of like, I don't know, like 100 maybe less. And if you know where like Henderson area is, New London's right around there. But he is from East Texas, and he was working in the oil field when we met. And Angelina is in Lufkin, and he was doing some work in Lufkin. Anyway, we ended up meeting, and the rest is basically history. I told my mom about him like very, very quickly, and then 2 months after we started dating, I told my mom I was going to marry him. Like, I just knew. And Lord, have we been through some ups and downs together, but gosh, I wouldn't have it any other way. I knew I was going to marry him immediately. I also wasn't like in the best place when we met. I wasn't the best version of myself. I wasn't the best person in general. And honestly, like dating him and getting to know him made me want to be a better person. And I started getting back to who I was. I feel like I lost myself a little bit when I first went to college. Well, COVID and college and this and that, like I just feel like I lost myself a little bit in there, and I feel like a lot of people did, and many people can probably relate to that. But gosh, I'm so blessed that I met him and that I came back to who I am and who God made me to be. And we've really grown in God's grace together, and I'm just so blessed. So back to kind of softball though, I really wanted to transfer. So I started looking around, looked at all these places, went on several visits, and I ended up going to LeTourneau University. And God put me there. That was all God. I had never heard of LeTourneau. I didn't know what it was. I was like, I'm not going to LeTourneau and playing softball. Like, are you kidding me? Because I was all about like softball. I was like, I'm going to go to a good school. I don't care what division it is, but I'm going to go to a school that, winning school, this and that. I had never heard of LeTourneau. But Mark called me one morning. He knew I wanted to transfer. He called me one morning and he said, hey, have you ever looked into LeTourneau? Like, I think you should. They tried recruiting me for baseball when I was in high school, and I've heard really great things about it because LeTourneau's kind of close to where he grew up. So I was like, no, I've never heard of that. Maybe I'll look into it. Well, a couple hours later, my mom called me and she goes, hey, have you ever heard of LeTourneau University? What? I was like, yeah, this morning I heard of it, actually. What do you have to say about it? And she was like, I think you should look into it. One of my really good friends from high school is the president of LeTourneau. I mean, what a small world. That was so wild. And that was just like totally a sign. I remember I was driving that day, like when she called me. And I was like, I stopped in my tracks and I was like, there's something about this. So anyway, I end up emailing the coach that same day. Well, the coach called me like the next day or the same, I don't even know. The coach called me and he goes, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I want you to come on a visit. I remember you from travel ball. I tried to recruit you, blah, 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 blah. I saw you play here, and here, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy like remembers me from travel ball. He knows me. He wants me to come. Like, that's so crazy. And so I went on my visit. The school was only an hour and a half from Angelina, so it was not bad at all. But I drove up there and went on my visit, and I totally just fell in love with the school. It was the most amazing feeling walking onto that campus. The culture there, I can't even describe it. But I had never felt anything like it. Like, who knew that a college campus, that a university could be so rooted in their identity in Christ? Like, who knew? It was nothing like anything I'd ever like heard of colleges or known about colleges, and it was completely what God was calling me to, and like exactly where I needed to be. So while we were on the visit, I got to speak to several faculty members, several professors, and I just remember I met with who would be my advisor if I went to LeTourneau. She was the most amazing person, and she prayed over me and my family and my decision, my decision to where I wanted to go to school. I literally started tearing up. I was like crying in her office. She's praying over us. I also remember walking into the School of Business office and seeing a poster of R.G. LeTourneau, the founder of the school, and it said, "God needs business leaders too." And that spoke to my family so much, because that is what my parents are all about in their businesses. They are business leaders, and they are led by God. They let their faith lead them and guide them, and they have impacted so many people, and oh my gosh, so many lives have been changed because my parents are faithful to whatever God is calling them to. And you can be doing anything in life and be faithful to God through it, and it will change your life and it will change other people's lives. But anyway, that is what my parents are about in their business, and that sign, that poster, when we saw it, it just spoke to us, because I want to be in business, I want to be a business leader, but I'm rooted in Christ. Anyway, we ended up touring the school. It was so awesome. I got to learn about R.G. LeTourneau and his life, and he has a remarkable story. He was a 6th grade dropout and ended up being so successful. I mean, he had a hard life. I've started reading his book, his autobiography, but it's called Mover of Men and Mountains, because he impacted a bunch of people, and then moving mountains in the Bible, but he made earth moving equipment. That was his thing. He was an engineer. He made a bunch of different equipment. He is a really crazy cool person. But I encourage you to read his book if you want to know more about him. I was really just in awe of everything he did, and how he served the Lord through everything he did. So if you know anything about earth-moving equipment, he made LeTourneau Technologies, which is now Komatsu. So if you see any Komatsu equipment, that's LeTourneau. But anyway, super cool guy. And also, while we were on the visit, we got to meet with the president of the university, and that was super neat. And he also prayed over us and our family. And I mean, what school do you go to? What visit do you go on where they pray over you? That is the most amazing experience I've ever had. And God just totally was working there and is working there still, and was just moving in that moment when I went on that visit. So anyway, long story short, I went there and I loved it. And the community was amazing. The professors were amazing. I studied management and marketing. So major was management, minor was marketing. And my management and marketing professors, those two women impacted me more than they know. And I love them, and I hope that I stay connected with them throughout my entire life, because they were just so awesome, and I can't say enough good stuff about them. While I was at LeTourneau, I also took Bible classes. That was part of it. You take 4 Bible classes at least. If you're a Bible major, of course you're going to take a bunch more, but if you're not, you take 4 Bible classes. So I took several, and I'm actually going to do some episodes on what I learned in my theology class, because that opened my eyes to so much. There's so much that I didn't learn in church growing up, and so much that I didn't know that I learned in that theology class that I would love to just share with other people, because it was so inspiring and so good and so interesting. So anyway, LeTourneau totally changed my life. The softball, it was full of ups and downs, but it was good for the most part. I made some lifelong friends. I loved the people on that team. My friends that I made, amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah, there were definitely some downs, and one of those downs was again, my coach left after the first year of me being there. So my coach left again. Yeah. But another thing that happened my sophomore year, actually, like when I transferred, that season, in the middle of the season, I got hurt. And I had been struggling with like some sciatic nerve pain on and off since high school. Like that was nothing new. I had it since probably my sophomore year of high school, like sciatic nerve pain, this horrible pinching pain, but it would like be there for a day and then it would totally go away. So it really wasn't anything that worried me. But while I was at Angelina, there was like 2 weeks of softball where I couldn't play because it was pinching so bad and hurting so bad. And I was doing everything to take care of myself and it just wasn't helping. So I was a little concerned, but again, it ended up going away. Well, while I was at Laterno, I specifically remember it started hurting, and we were in the middle of we played 3-game series. So we were playing University of Mary Hardin Baylor. We had just played, I think we had just played a doubleheader. And then, so we played a doubleheader one day, and then the next day we played a single game. So we had just played the doubleheader. We were going to warm up the next day for the single game. And I could barely walk. I couldn't walk. I was in so much pain. I wanted to cry. I didn't know what to do. It was just like crazy, crazy, crazy pain that I was in my legs and my hips. And just like that pinching sciatic nerve pain. And I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I was really hoping it would just go away and that I could play. But I couldn't. And I ended up going to a Rosti and getting massages and doing this and doing that, and it just wouldn't go away. And so I ended up meeting with this woman who, I don't really know what she was. I think she was like a nurse or something. And she was like partnered with the school. She worked at the hospital that was in Longview. And she told me that I was going to need surgery and that I had something called a hip impingement and this and that and all these things, and that I was going to need surgery. And so I couldn't play the rest of the season. She told me I could get injections, and that if I got injections, I might be able to play, but it wasn't like for sure that my pain would go away. So she said if I did get the injections, though, I would not be able to have surgery for at least 3 or 4 months. And I was like, well, if I need surgery, I'm going to get it immediately and get better as fast as I can so that I can play next season. So that was my thought process. Anyway, I had like 3 different I'm going to try to like run through this story quickly and give you the short version. But I had 3 different MRIs. I went to a specialist who literally works with the Dallas Cowboys. All these freaking crazy things, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me. No one. They said I didn't need surgery. They said it wasn't coming from my hips. They said it was coming from my back. Then it wasn't coming from my back. Then it was just all these things that was so crazy and so uncertain. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to play softball again because this pain was so constant. I mean, I was 20 years old. I couldn't sit down on the toilet. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get in bed. I couldn't lay comfortably. I couldn't sleep at night. I was in a world of pain and it really sucked. So after so much uncertainty and no one being able to figure out what was wrong with me, I mean, this was months. This was like 8 months into trying to figure out what's wrong with me. My grandmother finally told me like, hey, maybe you should get checked for this autoimmune disease that I have because it can be hereditary. So I finally got in with a rheumatologist and had these blood tests done and yet another MRI and all these things. Anyway, it turns out I have this gene that causes this like mutation, and I have something called ankylosing spondylitis. So thank God we found out what was wrong with me. I mean, thank you, Jesus, that we found out. Because it took forever. But long story short, we know what's wrong with me now, and I ended up playing softball again. Yeah, thank goodness. And so I ended up playing again. I got to play my junior and senior year at Laterno. I did some good stuff. I did some bad stuff. But my last and favorite memory was this last conference tournament we played in. I got first team all conference. I did pretty darn good, and my last ever hit of my career was a grand slam. So that is pretty darn awesome, and I'm just so blessed. And that is my last hit ever, not my last at bat ever. My last at bat ever was nothing, but my last hit ever was a grand slam. So I'm just gonna keep that in my mind because I like ending on that note. But to kind of back up a little bit, while I was at Laterno, my parents bought a gas station. So let's totally switch gears here and talk about that for a second. My dad, like I said, grew up in Northeast Texas, and we go up there every Thanksgiving and hang out with my grandparents and my dad's side of the family. And while we were up there, Thanksgiving of 2022, I guess, my dad saw a gas station for sale right 10 minutes down the road from where his parents live. And it was nasty, and it was run down, and he wanted to buy it. And I said, please don't buy that. That is disgusting. I don't want anything to do with it. Why would you even buy that? You got a construction company, whatever. He saw an opportunity, and he took it. And I guess that's where I get my entrepreneurial spirit from, because I have a lot of like-mindedness and similarness. Those aren't even words, probably. But me and my dad are very similar. And so anyway, we bought this gas station, and it was disgusting, like I said. So my family completely redid it, and it is pretty awesome now. It is called Bigfoot General Store. It is on Highway 259. It is right when you cross into Oklahoma from Texas. It is on your way to Broken Bow, so shout out Bigfoot General Store. If you're ever going up that way, stop in, say hello, and grab some goodies and snacks and drinks and what have ya. So it's awesome now, but it took a while to get there. But when it opened, I started managing it. So it was summer of 2023. I was out of school, and I went and lived with my grandparents in DeKalb, Texas for the whole summer, and I totally helped open the store and manage it, and I helped hire people and train people, and it has been quite the learning experience, but I am so blessed to have this learning experience. It really helped me relate what I was learning in school to the real world. I learned more about fuel than I thought I would ever know about it. But the reason I mentioned Bigfoot is just because it has become kind of a part of who I am now. I am the manager of Bigfoot General Store, and I'm still doing it remotely. So while I was at Laterno, I would do payroll and scheduling and things like that. And when we had breaks or like over the weekend, I would run up there because it was like an hour and a half from my school. I'd run up there, help out, and then go back to school. Moving forward, Thanksgiving of 2024, just like, I don't know, 8-9 months ago, however many months ago that was, I got engaged to the love of my life, and we were in Broken Bow. We were at the lake, and I was absolutely shocked. I had no idea it was coming. I knew that I was probably going to get engaged like after I graduated, and that we were going to get married and all that and plan our life, whatever, but I had no idea it was coming then. So I'll just briefly tell you all about it. My family sends out Christmas cards every year. Like, my mom likes to take family pictures and send out Christmas cards to all of our friends and family. So we usually take those pictures around Thanksgiving, and this Thanksgiving we were up in a cabin in Broken Bow, and we decided, like, hey, we're gonna go take family pictures for our Christmas card. And of course, Mark was with us for Thanksgiving, so our family and Mark went down to the lake, and we started taking family pictures, and like everything was so normal, everything was good. And then my mom like had said, of course you and Mark can take some pictures, and I was like, yes, of course, I would love like some pictures with Mark. So me and Mark take some pictures, and we take some normal pictures, and they're really cute. And then the photographer, she goes, okay, go ahead. And I was like, go ahead? And then Mark started backing up away from me. And I was like, where are you going? We're taking pictures. Like, where are you going? And then he got down on one knee and proposed. And I promise y'all, it sounded like somebody was hurt or dying because I was screaming. And we were near walking trails, and afterwards I realized how like crazy I sounded, but I was so in shock and I was screaming. I was like, oh my God, yes. So anyway, that was the most lovely, wonderful experience ever, and he did such a good job planning it, and I'm so happy that he surprised me. It was so good, and I'm so blessed that my family got to be there, and gosh, what a wonderful experience that was. But from that moment on, I had one more semester of college and I was playing softball. Like that's softball season, springtime. So I'm in the middle of softball season and planning a wedding, and that was a lot, but I mean, I did it. It was great. It was wonderful. And I'm going to have an episode on this podcast all about the wedding planning and like my do's and don'ts and like what I loved and what I didn't love and everything, because I have so many friends right now that are getting engaged and about to start planning their weddings. So hopefully it can just be help to other people, and y'all can know a little bit about my process and what I went through, and yeah, hopefully that helps out. But I also knew during this time that I wanted to get my master's degree. And I also knew that I kind of didn't want to stay at LeTourneau and do it because LeTourneau's master's program was online, and I'm a very face-to-face person. Like, I learn so much better that way, and I like making connections with people. So I looked into Lipscomb University because Berkeley, my little sister, goes to Lipscomb. And like I've said before, Lipscomb is in Nashville, Tennessee. So while I was in Nashville visiting Berkeley, I ended up going on a visit to the School of Business, and I absolutely loved it. But we were here watching Berkeley and the musical Cats, and if you didn't see my last episode about us talking about cats, you should totally go watch it. Hopefully it can entertain you a little bit. But we watched the musical, and then we went on the tour of the school, and I just loved it. Again, Lipscomb is a Christian school. It has that Christian atmosphere, so it's similar to LeTourneau in that way, and I just absolutely loved that, and I loved everything they had to say about the program. So I ended up really wanting to come, but I also had just got engaged. So like I went on my visit beginning of November, got engaged the end of November, and so I knew that whatever plan I was going to make had to be with Mark. So it took us a couple months, and we really discussed like, what are we gonna do, where are we gonna live, what's gonna happen. And Mark at the time was working for my parents at Bigfoot Concrete Pumping, so he was like flexible with staying or leaving or whatever, and we decided, let's do it. We have the opportunity to move, we're young, we can do it, let's go. So we headed to Nashville, and it's been really great so far. But before we moved to Nashville, that last month of my life was so crazy. I mean, the month of April and May, those 2 months were wild. Like, April is like heavy in the middle of softball season, and I was last minute wedding planning, making sure everything was together. I was also finishing all my classes. I had 2 capstone classes for management and marketing. And so I was doing these classes, doing these projects, planning a wedding, playing softball, had a job at Bigfoot General Store, all of these, and trying to apply for grad school because I finally decided that I wanted to go. So it was crazy, but it was awesome. I'm never going to forget those months. So I ended up graduating from LeTourneau University on May 10th. We didn't know if we were going to be able to walk the stage, and thank God Dr. Mason, the president, kind of helped us out, and us girls on the softball team, and we did get to walk the stage because we were also playing in the conference championship game that day. So we got to walk the stage at 10 a.m. We were the first people to walk. We were the first people to graduate. And oh my gosh, what an amazing experience. And thank you, LeTourneau, for doing that for us. Gosh, it was so awesome. So we walked the stage that morning, and then we immediately headed over to play the conference championship game against East Texas Baptist. And we ended up losing, but it was a good game. We always play our best games against ETBU. But anyway, so May 10th, walk the stage May 10th, play in my last softball game ever. May 11th, make sure I am completely packed up to go home. And on top of this, also like kind of packing up my house because I'm about to move. So packing up my house in Longview, packing up to go home, the next day, go on my bachelorette trip. I had a 2-night bachelorette trip in Waco. So it was just down the road from where I got married in Belton. If anyone knows where that is, Central Texas. But went on my bachelorette trip. That was super fun. And then May 15th got married. So all of that happened within a few days. And then May 18th, leave for our honeymoon. Mark and I went to Cabo, and that was fun. That was so fun. But went to Cabo. We were there for several days. We came back on the 23rd. We came back on the 23rd, landed at the airport, immediately drove to East Texas to go to his best friend's rehearsal dinner. Then the next day, his best friend got married. Then the day after that, we started packing up the U-Haul, and we left that night and started our journey to Nashville. So that all happened super fast, but it is all so worth it. So where am I now? I just finished my first semester of my master's program, so yay. I am super happy about that, and now I have a couple weeks until the fall semester starts. So that's going on. And then also with this master's program I'm doing, they do this thing called the DWE, the Directed Workforce Experience. So I had an interview day a couple weeks ago where I interviewed with 9 different companies. Everyone in the class that was doing the DWE, we all interviewed with several different companies. Some people only interviewed with like 3 or 4, some people 5, 6, 7, 8, and me 9. And I think there was 2 other people who had 9, but gosh, that was a lot of talking that day. Thank goodness I'm a talker. But I had 9 interviews, and so what the school does is we have these interviews, and then we rank the companies that we want to work for. So we rank our top 6 if we have top 6. And then those companies rank us, so their top 3 people, their top 3 candidates. And so then we get matched with a company. So it's really cool. It's a really awesome program, and I'm really excited to get my job. I'm supposed to get my job in the next couple of days. So I will definitely keep y'all updated on that. I also have some other big news that I'm going to keep y'all updated on. So please stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to share this upcoming thing with y'all. But I'm still kind of working for Bigfoot General Store. Like, I do the payroll and scheduling, and I help out when needed, like take phone calls, kind of help them at the store if they need help from me. I'm also just kind of relaxing right now before everything gets super crazy. And gosh, yeah, I'm thankful for these 2 weeks of relaxation before school and work and other stuff. Yeah. We have found a church in Nashville, though, that we really love. It is literally like a couple blocks from our house. It is in our neighborhood, and I can't believe that we love it so much. I am so excited about it. We've been, I think, 5 weeks-ish, and we have enjoyed every Sunday we've been so far, and that is so awesome and such a blessing. It just like shows how God puts you in certain places for a reason, and everything works out. But we went to this church, and I filled out the connection card, like, oh, you're new here, tell us that you're new here, blah blah blah. And so I filled it out, and the pastor reached out, and he emailed me and Mark, and he said, hey, I'm so glad y'all joined, blah blah blah. I went and looked y'all up on social media just so I made sure I had a name with the face. And Leighton, I noticed you went to LeTourneau University. My parents went to LeTourneau University back in the 60s or whatever he said. And so he said, basically, without LeTourneau, I wouldn't be here today. Oh my gosh, like that's where his parents went, and that's where his parents met. How freaking crazy. What a small world. I mean, this church we're going to maybe has like 100 members of the congregation. Like, it is not a huge church, which we really love. And wow, just what a small world. So anyway, we found our church home and we're really excited about it. So I'm excited to see what Nashville brings us. We've only been here a couple months, I think just a little over 2 months. And Mark has a pretty good job and I'm liking school so far. And hopefully we both start making just some friends and get connected in like some Bible studies and different things at church. And I'm just really excited to see what happens. But I'll just give y'all a couple more little things about me. So things that I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with ice cream. If you know me, you know how much I love ice cream. That is my favorite thing. I don't really love other desserts, but I'm a big ice cream fan. I love chocolate. I love mint chocolate chip. Recently I had this ice cream that was like gelato and it was snickerdoodle. Highly recommend trying that if you ever see it in the grocery store. It was like that Talenti brand or whatever it's called. Anyway, love ice cream. I also love pizza and pasta. Those are probably my favorite foods, but I also love steak and burgers. I will kill for a good burger. Fun fact, I like putting egg on my burger. If you have never tried a fried egg on your burger, you should 100% do that. A couple other things. I love traveling. I love seeing new places. I want to see the entire world. I don't know if that's possible, but I definitely want to do it. That's my dream. I just want to travel. Other things I really love, pickleball. That's a fun hobby. And if you haven't tried pickleball or played pickleball, you should definitely do it. And if you're in the Nashville area and you're looking for people to play pickleball with, me and my husband would love to play pickleball with you. I have 2 cats, Elfie and Nessa, and yes, they are named after Wicked. That is one of my favorite musicals. I saw it when I saw the traveling Broadway of Wicked when I was like maybe 13, 14-ish, and I like loved it so much. I've always really liked The Wizard of Oz, but like that being the backstory of The Wizard of Oz, oh my gosh, that is so much fun. If you haven't seen the musical, you should definitely see it. I absolutely loved it. Try to see the traveling Broadway or the Broadway version though, of course. I don't actually know if it's still running on Broadway. Anyway, you can find that out. But the movie is so great too. Oh my gosh. When the movie came out, I was like, the casting, the everything, it was so wonderful. If you haven't seen that movie, you should definitely see it. But I can't wait for part 2 to come out. I can't believe they did it in 2 parts. They also made it way longer than the musical, just so you know. The musical is definitely not like 6 hours long. Moving on. I love country music. I love a lot of different types of music, but I've been really into country. I've loved country my whole life. And recently we went to the CMA Fest here in Nashville. That was so much fun. That is so much country music. If you like country music, you need to look into going to the CMA Fest because it is like 1 million singers. It is 4 days long. It is some good stuff. We saw some really great people. One of my like new faves is the Red Clay Strays. If you haven't listened to them, give them a listen. And of course, some of my old faves were there, like Cody Johnson and Parker McCollum. And then we've been to Two Step In a couple years in a row now because it's in Georgetown, like my hometown, which is super crazy that my hometown literally has a music festival in it. If you haven't been to Two Step In and you love country music, that is a must. I mean, that is the best. But last year we saw like Leonard Skinner there. We've seen Turnpike Troubadours, Hank Williams Jr., some like really like good old country classic people, and also some really good new country. But anywho, some of my favorite podcasts. I first started listening to podcasts in high school, and I was hooked on conspiracy theories. Hooked. Loved it. That is what first made me want to start a podcast. I just wanted to talk about conspiracy theories, which we might do sometimes on this podcast. We'll see. I'm not sure. One of my other favorites right now is Relatable. I love Relatable, and I love Allie Stuckey. She is awesome. If you don't know her, go give her a follow and go listen to her podcast. She is so knowledgeable. She is Christian. She's conservative. She really knows her stuff, and she really like cares about causes that matter. And she will talk about things going on in the world and then relate it back to like being a Christian and why this is one way, why that's another way, why we should view it a certain way. She's awesome. Give her a listen. I also love the Joe Rogan podcast, and I'm sure like many of you know about him and his podcast. I mean, I think it's the #1 listened to podcast in the world, but he's so knowledgeable about so many different things, and like no matter what side or what view people have, he gives them an honest conversation and he asks them good questions, and I just really like listening to it. And then another just fun one I like is Red Handed. And the two women who host this podcast are from Britain, the United Kingdom, and I love their accents and they're awesome, but they have these really great shows of just like true crime and different things, and it's just a really fun show. Some other things I love. I'm going to tell y'all some of my favorite TV shows, and I have a lot of them. And then after I tell you some of my favorite TV shows, you need to tell me yours. I love Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, go watch it. Oh my goodness. I also love Dynasty. I love Jane the Virgin. That's a great show. Yellowstone was so good. I'll be completely honest, I didn't like love 1883 and 1923. They were good. I need to watch 1923 again, actually, because I think I skipped over some parts. Like, me and my husband were watching, and he definitely was, like, all in, and I was not as in. I was in and out of the room. But anyway, loved Yellowstone. How I Met Your Mother is just, like, a really funny, fun background show that I absolutely adore. I used to love that 70s show. I was, like, obsessed with it for a little while. I should totally watch that again. Young Sheldon. If you haven't watched Young Sheldon, that is such a good show. I love that show. And also like some newer shows that I loved. Ginny and Georgia. I have not watched the 3rd season yet, so do not spoil anything for me. I need to go watch it. If you haven't seen Manifest, actually, Manifest is not for everyone, but I really love Manifest. I also really loved Riverdale. And then lastly, my husband and I, we watched Peaky Blinders. That is an awesome show. If you like gangster mob stuff, but also like old timey, oh my gosh, I loved that show. Anyway, fun facts about me. My first job, and I'm a workaholic, as I said, I've been working since I was 15. Fun fact though, my first job was at a deer processor. Yes, one of those places that people take their game that they have hunted and then process it and give them back the meat. That was my first job. I have 2 fake teeth, and that's a fun fact about me. I can also speak Pig Latin, and if you don't know what Pig Latin is, uye udshe ernle ite ikasbe ite is a unfe. I love riding horses. I grew up doing that, some with my grandfather. I wish I could do it more often. I also love hunting and fishing. I have hunted quite a bit, and I do love fishing, but I recently have done some deep sea fishing, and I really enjoy that. I would totally love to get into it if I didn't get so seasick. That's the one downfall of it. Yeah. Anyway, another fun fact. So some of my walk-up songs in college, I just think this is fun. I had a Beastie Boys song as my walk-up song my sophomore year. I did Fight for Your Right. That was super fun. The next year, I did For Whom the Bell Tolls, Metallica. And then the next year, I did Wherever I May Roam, Metallica. That's fun. I also love cooking. Recently, I've gotten really into cooking. And another fun fact, I learned how to crochet a couple years ago, and I would love to get back into it. I was also obsessed with Doctor Who when I was in middle school, and if you want to talk to me about that, I would love to talk to you about that, because it seems like no one knows what Doctor Who is anymore. Yeah. Another recent thing I've like really been into is reading, and I really got into it like maybe 2 years ago. I started with that A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. That was just a fun series, and I really liked it. And I like that true crime. Well, it's not true. It's false fiction crime. But detective, mystery, all that stuff. I've always been into that. So that was a fun series to get into reading. And then I have read some really, really great books since then. One of my favorite books It's called The Storyteller. It is by Jodi Picoult. And if you like historical fiction, this book is for you. You need to go read it. That is one of my favorite books. Oh my goodness. Another historical fiction book that I love is by Rebecca Yarros, and it is The Things We Leave Unfinished. That book is phenomenal. She has some phenomenal books. I've read a few of her books and they're so good. One of them is the Empyrean series, which is her new-ish fantasy series, and it is not done yet. I cannot wait for the next book to come out. But if you like fantasy, even if you don't like fantasy, just give it a try, because she is a phenomenal writer and it is a great series. My roommate Maddie put me onto it, and so the first book is Fourth Wing, and then Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm, and then there's going to be 2 others that are not out yet, but those books are amazing. Another really cute book I read recently was called Remarkably Bright Creatures. If you like cute, lighthearted books, that is for you. I've read some really great books. We can talk about books on a different episode. I'll move on. My favorite type of movie is comedy. I love me a good comedy movie. And I recently watched the new Happy Gilmore, and I loved it. And some people said they didn't love it, but I loved it because I usually love Adam Sandler movies. There's a couple that I really, really don't like. If you've ever watched Sandy Wexler, I don't know what that is, but I couldn't even finish that Adam Sandler movie. But anyway, Happy Gilmore 2 was so good, and I just loved how it bounced off of the first one and all that stuff. Recent movies I've watched, the How to Train Your Dragon live action was amazing. I think I love How to Train Your Dragon more now. That live action was amazing. I also just recently went to the movies with Mark and Berkeley, and we watched the new Superman movie, and it was so good. And I hate to admit it, but I've never really seen Superman. I also really hate to admit these 2 things that I'm about to admit to you, and I'm gonna fix them soon. I've never seen Star Wars. I've also never read Harry Potter or seen Harry Potter. I think I've seen one of the Harry Potters because my best friend Olivia loves Harry Potter, but yeah, I'm sad to admit that, and I'm gonna fix that soon. A couple of my current obsessions. I love this peach tea from Trader Joe's. If you have a Trader Joe's, go get this sparkling black tea with peach juice. It's so good. I also love making protein balls. Right now, I am obsessed with them. I've been eating them for breakfast. It's I've been doing organic peanut butter and organic honey and oats and chocolate chips, and just make them into a ball and put them in the fridge, and oh my gosh, they are so good. I'm also obsessed with the color pink right now. I don't know if you can tell by my whole Instagram page and my entire podcast, but I used to hate the color pink, and now I love it. Okay, lastly, why this podcast? Why did I want to do it? Well, I've always had a lot to say, as you can see by how long this episode is. And by the way, if you're still here, just thank you for listening. I hope you just enjoyed hearing about my life a little bit, and getting to know me a little bit better. I would love to get to know some of y'all as well. So if any of this related to you, or if you just want to share anything with me, pop it in the comments, leave it on my Instagram, direct message me, whatever. But anyway, why this podcast? I've had a lot to say. I just want to talk about life and faith and relationships and, the books I love, the movies I love, the things that make me laugh, the things that make me mad. And I just realized maybe I'm not the only one who needs a space like this. So I just wanted to start it, and hopefully it's a space that you end up enjoying just as much as I enjoy it. But it's definitely not gonna be for everyone, and that is totally okay. And maybe some episodes I do are totally for you, maybe some episodes are not. That's okay. Next up, join me on Sunday for the Sunday Sprinkle. I'll have another really short, hopefully encouraging episode for you. And then after that, I want to talk about some other things with y'all, such as wedding planning, like I said earlier, and some other really fun stuff. But I wanted to end with my favorite, I have a lot of favorite Bible verses, but just one that's stuck with me for the past year and a half-ish. Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will be established. So I hope that can be a little bit of encouragement for you, and I am so happy y'all joined me today. Have a happy rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend.